Welcome to the official Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society's podcast. I'm your host, Barnaby, and you're listening to Whispers from the Dark. Hello and welcome to Whispers from the Dark. I am your host, Barnaby. Over the next few weeks, we are going to be sharing some interviews that were recorded live at the Paranormal and Metaphysical Expo in Janesville, Wisconsin, back in April. And joining me here for these introductions is Ma. How you doing?
Good.
Ma. So me, you, and Resnick from Caps Academy went down to Janesville, and we had a pretty good time. We had a 3-day event for us that started with the VIP dinner on Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday was speakers and all kinds of stuff down there. And we got the opportunity to interview a lot of great people and TV personalities and stuff. So what do you think?
Yep, that's what we did.
But we had so many interviews that we're going to be introducing everyone separately on the show. So we wanted to do these post-production intros for this stuff. So on today's episode, we're going to get to in just a minute our 3 great interviews with people that you may or may not have heard of. Hopefully you've heard of them before and enjoy our brief conversations with them. First off, on today's show is going to be Mike Ricksecker, and he is from the Alaskan Triangle TV show. And Ma's giving me a weird look because she's never seen any of this. And he gave a speech on Shadow Men and the Hat Man and other shadow entities and stuff. So that should be a great interview. Resnick actually conducted that with Mike while I was giving my presentation.
I participated in that one.
Good. Awesome. Your participation is great.
I just didn't listen like in other ones because I wasn't given a microphone. I was waiting on customers, so.
Yep. And then up second in today's episode is the host of Darkness Radio, and that would be the one and only Dave Schrader. And he is also from the Holzer Files. So that's cool. We got a chance to talk to him. That's a very upbeat, interesting, entertaining interview. So hope you guys enjoy that one. And finally on today's show is another interview that I was not able to participate in because, again, I was giving my presentation on Sunday. No. And that would be Resnick interviewing Brian J. Cano from the Paranormal Caught on Camera and some other shows, as well as Pathways, right, with Dustin Parry.
Perry. Yes.
I like to call him Parry. Dustin Parry. Our good friend, Dustin Parry.
Sorry.
I really hope you listen to this episode, and I'm super excited because I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but he might be on an episode of our podcast coming up, Dustin Parry.
Yes.
So hopefully we get a chance to interview him. If not before the event that we're at with Dustin, definitely probably after that event we won't be able to get him on.
Definitely probably
we'll be able to speak with Dustin. So hopefully he'll be on our show soon. All right. So without any further ado, we're going to get into this week's episode. And our first guest is Mike Ricksecker.
So Mike Ricksecker, author, filmmaker, researcher, been involved some way, shape, or form with the field for about the last 30 years. Now I've had experiences, ever since I was a young child, about 8 years old. Woke up in the middle of the night one night, and there was this tall, dark figure standing in my bedroom. Had no idea about shadow entities, shadow people at that time. I just thought there was an intruder in the house, and it was about to kill me. What it ended up doing was approaching my bed. It leans over. I'm staring up at this blank black face. There's no eyes, no nose, no mouth, nothing. And I'm trying to scream. Mouth opens. Nothing's coming out. It ends up leaning over my bed, grabbing my arms by the wrists, crosses my arms across my body, which is bizarre, runs off down the hall, of all places, into a closet. So I find my voice, find my legs, run off screaming to my parents' bedroom. And they're trying to calm me down. They're nice, good, nurturing parents, and they're trying to tell me I just had a bad dream. But I knew I'd been awake for this whole thing. So this was my first significant experience. I would never call that house a haunted house. It was like really a one-off that happened there. The next house that we moved into after that, some years later, had more going on. But when I kind of really knew this was going to be a field that I was going to get involved with, not even knowing it was a field at the time, because we're talking like 1989, 1990, right around there. I was about 15 years old. And my friend David and I were at our friend Lori's house. And, we're kids. We're shooting the breeze, talking teenage drama, that sort of thing. And all of a sudden, Lori says, I think my house is haunted. Now, she was in an older historic home, the downtown area where we lived. And she starts telling us about these different things that are going on within the house. There's this old family cemetery out in the backyard. Okay, that's cool. But her main concern was that this one wall in her bedroom upstairs, she couldn't keep anything tacked up on it. We're kids, so it's like posters and things like that. And she'd tack it up on the wall, and it would be like an hour, a day, a week later, or whatever. It would always fall down. So she couldn't keep anything up on there. So, all right, we're going to go check this out. We're going to investigate. Not knowing anything about paranormal investigations because, we didn't have television shows back then. So we go upstairs, and we're looking at the wall. We're in her bedroom. She's telling us more stories about things that are going on. And I didn't know this about David at the time, but he was an extremely sensitive guy. And he put his hand flat to the wall like that, and all of a sudden he turned this bright red, started sweating profusely. And I'm looking at David like, oh my God, what's going on with my friend? I'd never seen anything like this before. So he starts going like wall to wall in the house to see if there are any other hot spots. And I'm there in her bedroom just looking at this wall, looking at David. I'm like, this is fascinating. This is amazing. And that was the moment that I knew somehow, some way, shape, or form, I was going to be involved in the field, not even knowing it was a field, that this really, really had my interest. And I've been writing forever, and that just kind of went along with it. So started trying to do some research. I was in a small Ohio town, so we didn't have a lot in the library other than your classic horror story books like Amityville Horror, things like that. It was really kind of mid-'90s when World Wide Web started becoming a bit more popular, more mainstream. You could get out there, find groups and web pages and different forums and things like that where people are having conversations, talking back and forth. Okay, let's have that conversation. What have you experienced? What have I experienced? That sort of thing, which was great. And it was more like mid-2000s when I finally actually started writing the paranormal books.
Very cool, very cool. So you said, Ma, you said you had a question for him?
Okay. Is there, in your opinion, differences between, like, a shadow person that's kind of like just peeking here and there versus the one that comes and you have sleep paralysis and it comes and gets you? So what's the difference?
Yeah, there's a large variety of different types of shadow entities. That's what the entire first section of my book, A Walk in the Shadows, is about, different types, where you have a humanoid figure, you have the Hat Man, you have hooded figures, mist, wisps, the crawler, all these different forms of shadow entities. So, the one kind of peeking in the doorway, very, very different than some of these other entities. Like the house that we moved into in Ohio when I was 13 years old, I'm unpacking boxes, putting things away, and I kept seeing this shadow standing in my doorway, or it'd kind of peek around the corner like that, and I turn and look, and off it would run. This would happen several times over the course of a number of days, and finally I asked my mom about it. Like, hey, Mom, I've been seeing this happening in the house, and she said she had also seen it, and she was very nonchalant about it. So this was like, great on a couple of different levels. Where, for one, she affirmed what I had seen, so it's great. I'm not crazy. Mom's seen it too. And then secondly, because she was just very disarming about it. Like, yeah, I've seen that. That's going on here. It's like, okay, well, Mom's not worried about it, so I guess I don't have anything to worry about. I'll get playful with it. So I started calling him Tom, like Peeping Tom. And so anytime he'd because that's what he would do. Like you said, you kind of peek around the doorway, or sometimes he would actually be standing in the doorway. And I'd say, hi, Tom, and off he'd go. He was a lot more translucent in nature than like that first, full human shadow figure that I saw when I was about 8 years old. So you do have these different styles, and there are ones that, yes, they'll come in bed or come into your bedroom at night, and one of the ideas is that some of these are like energy vampires. They'll strike fear into you and feed off of that fear. And when it comes to sleep paralysis, that's a real biological phenomenon that I believe can happen when you see shadow entities, but they're two separate things. So the idea here is, okay, sleep paralysis, this is something the body does to keep you from acting out your dreams at night. Sometimes when we wake up, we're still in that paralysis state. It can happen the reverse way, and that's happened to me in the reverse way, where your body is just so exhausted, it shuts down, but your mind is still awake and alert, and so you can't move your body, and it's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Which was very frightening the first time it happened, because I was in a work environment. I was in the Air Force at the time, and you don't want to get caught sleeping on the job in the military. Not a good idea. So I finally got myself out of it, just kind of started wiggling a toe and kind of worked up my body until I could finally get all the appendages moving. So sleep paralysis happens, that's for sure. But the medical community, they like to say, well, when you wake up in the middle of the night and you have sleep paralysis and you're seeing the shadow entity, the shadow being is just a hallucination because you're still in a sleep state. You're still dreaming. And it's like, well, wait a minute. We dream about all kinds of different things, not just people. If this is a dream, this couldn't be anything. I have dreams of different, like trees, bushes, animals, things like that. In my dreams, cars, motorcycles, planes, all that sort of thing. The joke I like to tell is that, and it's actually true, I have had dreams of being on stage with Motley Crue. But I've never woken up to, 10,000 people in the audience, the pyrotechnics going off and all that stuff, which would be fun. But if this is a hallucination from our dream, then we should be waking up and seeing some of these other things too, not just a person. It's always a person. So the question then becomes, what's happening here in these cases? So I kind of break this down into, we each have a toroidal field of energy that surrounds us. It extends out from the heart. The Heart Math Institute's done a lot of great research on all of this. And what we're feeling is its presence. So, people with young children are pretty familiar. Child wakes up in the middle of the night, they come up to your bed, they usually tap you on the shoulder or shake you awake. Hey, Mom, Dad, I've had a bad dream, you use the bathroom, need a glass of water, whatever, and then you go take care of it. But sometimes the child will just stand there at the bed and stare at you and do nothing. And my youngest son, Cameron, was notorious for that. So he'd just stand there at the side of the bed, and all of a sudden I'd wake up a moment later, oh my God, Cameron, what are you doing? Well, I had a bad dream, I need water, whatever. Okay, we'll go take care of it, that's fine. But, it kind of creep you out. So what happened then that woke me up? Well, he has a field of energy around him. I have a field of energy around me. And when those two energy fields interacted with each other, basically I felt his presence. His energy woke me up just by being near me. And so I think this is what's happening here. The shadow entity is in the room. It has its own energy as well. And while we are sleeping, we are feeling that energy. And that's what's waking us up. We see the shadow there in the corner or at the end of the bed or wherever. We're having sleep paralysis, which is a natural biological phenomenon that can happen. And then all of a sudden, you have all these different things that are happening. I can't move. I'm paralyzed. There's an intruder in the house. We don't usually think shadow person at first. We're thinking somebody broke in the house. So then all of a sudden, it's like, I can't move. I'm paralyzed. There's an intruder in the house. Adrenaline starts rushing. It's just like this whole rabbit hole you go down. And so that's what I think was happening with all of this. It's a long-winded answer to your question, but yeah.
Do you possibly think shadow people could be extraterrestrial?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Some are definitely extraterrestrial. A couple of different ways that they could be. First of all, they could, if they're a physical extraterrestrial, because you have ones that'll come here physically, others that may travel interdimensionally and may be projecting themselves. If they're traveling here physically and they have a craft somewhere up there in the sky or already landed on the Earth somewhere, they are, a lot of these extraterrestrials are here to research us, find out more about humanity, see what's going on. Or is this a species that, we could, say something happened where their home planet is gone and they're looking for a new place to live. They may be trying to study us and wonder and figure out, okay, is this a species that we can cohabitate with? So if they're doing something like that, and they're going to study us, they're going to watch, observe, they probably don't want to immediately be seen. They don't know who we are. They don't know our weapons capability, how we would react. We see an alien, are we going to shoot at it immediately, that sort of thing. So they may be putting on some sort of cloaking device to try to conceal themselves and not fully understanding the physiology of our eyes. Perhaps that cloaking device comes off a little differently to us as, say, a shadow, or some people report like a shimmerman sort of thing. And so this might be what we're waking up and seeing. It's something that's actually there studying us, and it's wearing some sort of cloaking device or outfit, and it just comes off as that shadow or shimmer or what have you. The idea of interdimensional beings or traveling interdimensionally or projecting themselves, like people here in this room right now, people here astral project. They know how to do that. Well, what does that look like on the other side with the person? Like if they go and are astral projecting to a loved one's bedroom at night, because they just my daughter, granddaughter, whomever lives hundreds of miles away. I can't really visit, go off, but I know how to astral project. Let me go and just check in and watch them sleep. It's kind of a sweet thing to do. What would that look like in the bedroom of that person if they were to wake up and there's a projected consciousness in that room? It might come off as some sort of shadow. And so that could also be what these ETs have done. They have some of these civilizations have billions of years of a head start on us. They probably know how to do these things that we're just now, finding capabilities to do. So if they know how to project their consciousness across the universe, this could be what we're seeing as well.
Very interesting, very interesting. Now, if I'm mistaken, you spent some time up in Alaska, right?
Yep.
You were stationed up there. What was it like up there as far as any kind of experiences, as far as paranormal or UFO or cryptic or anything like that?
Yeah, there's a lot of bizarre things that happen in Alaska. I only spent 3 years there, so I didn't have a lifetime of experiences. That's a lot of what's in my book, Alaska's Mysterious Triangles. A lot of experiences from other people, but I did have some crazy things that would happen up there. I got kind of a crash course when I landed of how volatile the area is. They had just recently had a volcano eruption, Mount Spur right across the Cook Inlet from the Anchorage, Elmendorf area. And so, ash was still falling from the sky. There's Dave Schrader, everybody.
I'm listening.
Yeah, he's listening. So, ash is still falling from the sky. There are earthquakes up there. There's a 6.5 earthquake that went off not too long after I got up there, and it sounded like a cannon went off. And, I'm in the Air Force at the time, at a military base that is not too far from the former USSR. It was just a couple years beforehand that they had folded. So it's like, should we be concerned here? But it was actually an earthquake. And then that April, after I had arrived, there was an airplane taking off from the Anchorage airport. Got up 1,800 feet in the air, and all of a sudden the engine fell right off. The airplane crashed into a supermarket parking lot. And fortunately, nobody was hurt. This is crazy. So backside of the supermarket parking lot where there weren't any cars, weren't any people, everybody was okay there. Shards of metal were raining from the sky from this thing, fell into people's houses, like through their roofs. People were going into their bedrooms, finding metal lodged into their beds, on their floors, things like that. Nobody got hurt. Plane turned around, went back. They chalked it up to, we had some sort of equipment malfunction on the plane, that sort of thing. And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah, so crazy things like that. I mean, my personal experiences up there, again, with the shadow entities. I was in 2 of the 3 years that I was up there, because I was waiting for my security clearance for the first year. I was in the Alaskan Command building, so we were in the secure basement of that building that housed the communication center, and then our division, our department was right next to that. We kind of used some of the same floor space. And within that secure facility, we would see shadows dart back and forth, mostly in the back office area, but we would also see it sometimes through what we called the rack room, because it had the patch panels and multiplexers and all that, and these big racks. And then on the back side of that, there was this other smaller room past that housed old printers and things like that. We'd see the shadows going there, mostly in the back office area. And there'd be times, if you had a moment alone back there or fewer people, that all of a sudden just start getting really, really dark and heavy back there. It's like, okay, something's going on, something's up. And you kind of poke your head around the cubicle, it's like, there they go. So there was a legend, there's a rumor that started up about that place, that it was once a hospital, and that our facility was in the morgue of that hospital, and like where the rack room was had been where the coolers were for storing the bodies and all that. When I did the research for my book, Alaska's Mysterious Triangle, that was the story I had for 20-something years. I wanted to talk about, okay, this was the hospital that it had been. And to do the research, and it's like, actually, the building was only ever built for command. Where did the stories come from? Because it wasn't a hospital. So I had to try to look at this a different way, because, okay, if it was a hospital, morgue, all of that, these are going to be like, shadows of human spirits, that sort of thing.
Possible.
Yeah,
residual energy.
Possibly. Yeah. And a lot of shadows that we see are, just human spirits, can't fully manifest. But it's like, okay, maybe that's not the case here. Not a hospital, not a morgue. Okay, so we have a lot of energy around there. Are we seeing shadows of other points in time? Is there enough energy that's being, gelled up there that is kicking off some of these different time slips that we've seen in other areas around the world? There's some more famous cases like the Versailles time slip, and the Conjuring House in Rhode Island has had this phenomenon happen before. Is that what was happening there? Basically, when you have a time slip like this, time being just it's a construct of our own, reality, but really, everything that has happened, is happening, will happen. It's all kind of stacked on top of each other. And when we have these time slips, two of those moments in time are kind of resonating on the same frequency. So all this energy that we have going on down there, is that, are those frequencies kind of jostling around on a more constant basis, and suddenly, boom, two of those moments click, and maybe we're seeing personnel that had once worked in there. Maybe we're seeing others in the future. So it creates a lot more possibilities as what could be going on down there.
Definitely got to be open-minded when you're looking around and trying to just solve what's going on up there and stuff like that. The crowd's getting rowdy.
Yeah,
out
they
there.
are.
I think they're cheering for you. Got a star.
They did that
over
yesterday.
There. Hey, I sat in there and listened to you yesterday.
Thank you. I'm kind of telling you some of the same stuff you heard yesterday.
Yeah, but you're also telling our followers,
yes,
people that are on listening, they want to know about you, because they're going to see
Absolutely.
your name, they're going to click on it and go, I want to know more about this guy. What does he got to say?
Right.
What does he really know? That's what they're going to be, and that's
not enough. We think we know a thing or two, and it just leads us down another rabbit hole. And it's like, oh my gosh, there was so much more to this than I originally thought. Every answer we get has like 20 more questions.
I was told by an elder years ago, little guy, the day you stop learning is the day they put you in the ground.
Yeah, absolutely.
So every day you're learning something new. Even if you think you know your craft, you'll never fully know your craft.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely. So what else has you got? Any new shows coming up lately?
Well, I'm working on Shadow Dimension Season 2. So the first season has been out for just about a year now. It's still running free on Tubi TV, which is great. Some other platforms it's starting to come out on here, like FilmZ, My Movies Plus. It's supposed to be on Zumo here soon. So that's picked up some traction. Already finished a lot of the core filming of it, but trying to get those interviews together and all of that. We just had the Ancient Aliens episode air. Have some other filming projects coming up here that I can't talk about too much, but one of them is a History Channel show, so I guess I can say that. I can tell you I'm going to be filming with Gaia TV here in May, so have some things like that coming up. And then the tours. So Ireland tour in July 1st through 9th. Still have some tickets for that, and it's kind of short notice, but still some openings. And then next February in Egypt.
Very awesome, very awesome. So if someone wanted to get a hold of you or looking for you, how do you go about
absolutely.
doing it?
MikeRicksecker.com. That's my primary website, so you can get links to all the books and everything out there. You can find more information on the Shadow Dimension. Also, ConnectedUniversePortal.com. It's an online learning site that I've put together. So we have online courses, weekly classes. There's all kinds of articles out there. We have behind-the-scenes videos, monthly Q&A videos, all that stuff. ConnectTheUniversePortal.com.
Is there any cost for that?
There is a 30-day free trial, and it's a $10 per month membership. So some of the courses are standalones, like the Egypt course, which it's more of here's a boatload of information on Egypt with hours and hours worth of footage right from Egypt. It's like 12 hours worth of material. It's $20.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all.
Yeah.
Spend that much just going to McDonald's nowadays.
There you go. Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to ask him,
No,
Mark?
that's good. Thank you very much for taking the time to come down here and talk to us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
I had a blast getting to know you this weekend, and hopefully we got a future friendship here that'll last a long time through the paranormal.
Absolutely. We'll see you on the road.
Definitely.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Hello.
Ready?
Whenever you are.
All right, our next guest on Whispers from the Dark is the one and only Dave Schrader. How are you?
Doing well, thank you very much.
You're very soft-spoken.
I'm whispering from the dark.
Oh.
See? Darkness,
I
Dave,
like
whispering
that.
from... How's this? Hi, thank you very much for having me.
Well, that sounds more like you.
Yeah, there you
Well,
go.
this is just my radio voice. My actual speaking voice is a lot more like this. So it's a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you for having me.
It's been a blast getting to know ya.
So you guys got to hang out last night a little bit. How'd that go?
It was fun.
Yeah, sharing a jail cell really brings people together.
Yeah, very entertaining. Just don't let my wife know. We'll be all right.
That's
you
right.
know. He called his people. They bonded us out. We were only there for about 6 hours. That's all.
it.
Had to share a cab ride home.
I had to hold him the whole time. He was weeping like a child.
I believe that. I believe that.
Hey,
Yeah.
it was your eyes that were wet,
Well.
not mine.
So, sir, you are all over the place. Like,
Yes.
You are at every
Are you trying to say I'm
convention and-
overexposed? Is that what you're
No,
trying to say?
no. It's
Put
very
your
in
clothes on.
focus picture. Very
Yes.
in focus picture.
Yes.
Yeah. So what got you into all this? I mean, like, why you're everywhere doing all
The
kinds of
chicks
stuff.
and money, man.
That's
There's
what I
nothing
think,
better
yeah.
in the paranormal. I grew up having strange experiences my whole life and loved radio. And in 2006, I was able to marry them and co-create Darkness Radio. Still on the air. Tim Dennis, the host of it now. I just relaunched on my own new program called the Paranormal 60. So I've just been out there, investigating, putting myself in the mix of it instead of just sitting around as a podcast host, listening to everybody else's stories. I wanted to inject myself into the stories and go see these places. So that's what I've done for the better part of 17 years now.
That's cool. I'm kind of the opposite. Like, we started Whispers from the Dark because we started recording at these events because people come up to me and we go, all over the country and stuff to these events, and people will tell me the story. I'm like, well, I'm not going to come back here and investigate this, but maybe somebody out there listening that is, interested in that area or something can get involved and take over this story for me.
Sure.
And I think that's kind of what
So
I'm
you
trying
are
to
the
do with it.
passive paranormal investigator. I like that.
Yeah, well, for
Yes.
the most part, yeah. I do my own state and what I can get to, but
Sure
yeah,
you do.
Yeah. I send my lackeys out for that now.
Oh, no, lackeys.
What can I say? You got to bring them aboard for some reason.
Wow. Rez, that sounds terrible.
I take such abuse around here, but I
could
love
see
it.
Yeah.
And you've
Why do you
just
think- Why do you
started.
think I'm chumming up to you?
I got you. I got you.
Cool. So I actually started watching the Holzer Files. I don't have a lot of time to watch TV. Has
Sure.
anybody around doing this? A day job, and then I do all this on the weekends. But I think it's really neat that you're taking over like the stories.
Neat. Watch your language, man. This is a family show.
Right?
Really neat.
It's really
I think
neat
it's
that-
kind of swell.
that you took over the stories and are revisiting and keeping that alive and stuff with the family and everything. So.
Yeah, it was great. We got to do 2 seasons. They didn't renew us for a 3rd season, unfortunately. But
I'm
just
still
have-
upset about that.
Yeah, you and me both,
You
sister.
know.
I loved it. Loved the opportunity of just getting out there and being a part of it and investigating and getting to walk in Hans Holzer's, very knowledgeable footsteps and get to hear the original audios and videos and photographs and read through his files and then go to these locations and realize that so much of what he knew 50, 60 years ago turned out to be true here all these years later, now that we can deep dive into history and information is much more readily available. This guy didn't have Google He didn't have newspapers.com. He didn't have all these things that were accessible, and a lot of the towns had stripped parts of these history from their libraries because they didn't want people talking about the murders or death or tragedies, and they kind of whitewashed it. So now we're able to reclaim all that information, and all the stuff that Hans Holzer and the mediums he worked with, that they were making these claims, proved to be true.
Yeah, he did it with natural tools, instead of like what we have nowadays, all the special gadgets that we have.
Yeah. But I know he's made contact with his family members through these special gadgets. So they've actually heard him through spirit boxes and different tools that they've talked to him on. So we never went to try to communicate with Hans directly. I always felt that that's, I left that to his family, and we didn't tap into that element.
Now, he didn't really pass away that long ago, did he?
Oh, I think 2009, so it's been a while.
Well, that's still relatively recent. I mean, like for,
It's
we're
2022. I mean, that's not really that recent, but yeah.
It's 10 years ago. I mean, but in a relative speaking sense, a lot of these people, like you're talking about how he didn't have the modern day technology and stuff, so he was doing all this stuff back then, but he still was around up until more modern time. Not
right,
modern,
and
but
we were the last radio show interview that he ever did.
That's
and
really cool.
he just was very adamant about he was not impressed by the TV shows because they were too reliant on equipment and the being in the moment, learning the story, trusting a trance medium and getting that history. That's where he believed it should be, and it still proves good. I've certainly over the years I was enjoying all the flashy Star Trek toys too, at all the investigations. But now it's me and a recorder at most places. I just like to really kind of be in the moment, be aware, and have my eyes acclimated to the area instead of looking at the screen and looking up, looking at the screen, looking up, and your eyes can't adjust to that light change constantly. So I just tried to keep it very even keel, and now I'm just in with the recorder like Hans. The recorder is my trance medium, trying to record the voices and things that want to come through.
yeah. I mean, like, you're talking about like the TV shows and stuff like yourself and that are out there, and when people see these, think of ghost hunting and stuff. They think of Ghost Hunters or the Holzer Files or
Sorry, I
Ghost
got to take
Adventures
this
and
call.
stuff. Yeah.
Domino's Pizza, how can I help you? Yeah, okay. Double meat stock. Okay, great. And we'll have that delivered. Is this Mr. Benjamin Dover? Ben Dover? Yes, okay. We'll get that delivered. Thank you. All right, I'm sorry. Back to the interview.
Cool.
What's up?
Yeah. Is that going to be out all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just got to do what you got to do in the paranormal.
no
There's
problem.
no
Yeah,
money.
take your
I got to
time,
take
take
my
your
side job as a Domino's delivery guy.
I hear you on that.
They were saying yesterday that you work for food.
if I have to.
I got some beef jerky back here.
I'll take it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, like I was saying, you have all these TV personalities and stuff, and when people think of that, that's where they think of. And before I actually started looking at your show and that, the beef jerky has come out. When I started looking into that, I thought, oh, this is really cool because I honestly, like I said, I don't watch a lot of TV, so when I looked into the show, I was like, that's a really neat concept that you're going back and looking at somebody who nobody knows of. Or didn't before that.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was certainly one of the most famous ghost hunters of his time, and really kind of was the godfather of the American movement, from the 60s on. But unfortunately, he just didn't have the same kind of press agent that Ed and Lorraine Warren did, that kept their name out there. And but Dr. Holzer, he was one of the preeminent investigators out in the field.
Oh, and that's what I mean, though. But anybody that nowadays coming up into the paranormal and stuff, that's not a name that is on TV, flashed all over.
Well,
and
it is
stuff.
now.
It is, yeah, it is now.
Right.
But when you're looking at the newer people, they don't recognize that.
What's funny is
stuff,
a lot of us, from my generation, my age group, we watched shows like In Search Of. And Dr. Hans Holzer was a contributor to In Search Of all the time. He was on screen, like with America's Stonehenge, Mystery Hill, and some of these different cases. So he appeared. So he did, he had a good presence, and he's released over 145 books on every topic from ghosts to ESP to witchcraft to alien abductions. He was, he truly sunk into a lot of this. So the people that are really vested in learning know about Dr. Holzer. Most people, unfortunately, just get their information from Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, and those kind of programs, which is great, but they forget where this all came from.
Right. You got to pay homage to those that came before us,
Yeah.
those that actually opened the path and made the ways for us to come do what we do.
Sure.
most people get their information off the internet and TV and stuff, and they forget, like you said, he wrote all those books.
Yep.
And, like how many people today do you see like still going to the library or reading? Like people,
Right.
Like the school age people in that now, they don't even know what that stuff is. If it's not, you can't download it and look at it on your tablet or whatever, and do you happen to know offhand how many of his books are available like for
I think 100 are still out there, so they keep re-releasing some of them.
but for like Kindle or something?
Yeah, I think there's
Are
about
they?
100
Okay.
of them out there,
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's great. That's kept alive that way too, because a lot
Yeah.
of those older authors, like I'm more Bigfoot and cryptids and stuff, so I do paranormal and that. But I mean, like for me, like there's a lot of the Bigfooter authors and stuff that you can't get because they're all self-published and that, so they don't have those publishing companies
Right.
that you can't get it on Kindle or,
Well,
or whatever.
Alexandra and her family, Alexandra Holzer, own the rights to all of his books now because they've reverted back. So they just keep re-releasing them through like Amazon, Audible, and Kindle, and things like that.
That's great. That's great to hear because it's still out there and people can, look it up and stuff. And
Right.
I highly suggest anybody listening that you should go check that out. Goosebumps.
This
Yeah.
entire time since we've been talking about Hans, my back has been freezing. I'm getting goosebumps up and down my arms. This is not a normal reaction because I watched Holzer Files. I've seen probably every episode about 3 times.
Oh, awesome. Great.
Yeah,
You're the one
so-
that watched it. We found him.
Yep, that's me.
Here's the guy that watched our show. Awesome. If you could have watched it 4 times each, we might still be on the air. Thanks for dropping the ball, Rez. Nice job.
I tried, but there's other things I got to watch too. I can't get brainwashed by only one area.
Brainwashed. Yeah,
I like
he
that.
throws that in for you. So what else do you do? Do you do like you do a lot of the paranormal stuff and that? Like you go and do investigating. Do you do any like kind of cryptid hunting or Bigfoot or any of
I
that
delivered Domino's Pizza.
stuff? Okay,
as
well,
you heard.
you got to have a side job, yeah.
I've gone out to investigate claims of UFOs, cryptids, any place that is interesting to me, a good story. Something that's relevant happening now, though. I don't want to go where Patterson Gimlin caught the footage the year I was born, right? I want to, because nobody else has caught any footage from that area since. But if something big happened and I was around and available, I'd love to go check those out. I want to know where America's or Wisconsin's Skinwalker Ranch is.
It is quite close to here actually by Bray Road.
Well, aren't we going
Bray
there
Road.
shortly?
Oh,
Yep.
piece of
Yeah.
the Bray Road stuff, yeah.
We're going to be heading out there shortly for caps, right?
We don't talk about that. But yeah, we will be back out on Bray Road again pretty soon. Yeah.
He wants to check it out.
Yeah.
There you go.
So when you say it's the Skinwalker Ranch of the Wisconsin area,
Right. Yeah. So
what do you mean exactly?
I don't know if you're familiar with Lee Hampel.
Lee Hampel?
Yes.
No, not at all.
Okay,
Sorry.
good. So, well, he's been a guest on some like shows like
Sure.
Expedition X with Josh Gates and stuff. His property actually backs up against Bray Road.
Oh, very
He
cool.
owns a hayfield out there, and he has had just every sort of weird phenomenon from mutilations to full carcasses just being taken, and he's chained things to trees. He's put iPhone trackers on stuff, and they will like cut the heads off of it and leave the tracker and take the rest of the carcass. He's gotten UFO pictures and mists, weird smells, footprints that start in the middle of his field in the snow and walk off his property. Just you name it, it's
Amazing.
happened out there. Yeah. We had the opportunity to go out there and investigate and stuff, and we actually were pretty much chased off the property by something that didn't want us there.
Really?
Yeah.
The owner?
No,
Just
he
a
was
question.
he was asleep in the bar, and he told us
nice.
we could stay
Okay.
all night.
Very
so,
cool.
Yeah, but it was definitely a very weird place to be in. Yeah.
See, I'm not a big fan of the outdoors. I'm a very avid indoorsman. But outdoors is full of things that want to bite and poke you. So I'm just,
That's right.
But I'd love to go out and see a place like that and investigate. Yeah. Maybe
cool.
not with you guys, but on my own. Or
I
something.
see how you
No, I'm
are.
kidding.
I see. Yeah.
Good
Yeah,
enough
cool.
to go share
I'll
a
go with
cell
you.
with me.
This guy seems kind of lazy. He's like, well, we don't talk about it, and really, Rez is going to go investigate and tell me about it. So,
He'll film it. We'll
That's right.
we'll edit it later. Yeah.
You're just standing in a green screen. And, oh, it's windy out here.
Uh-oh, he's gone to me.
Yep, he's got you, Barn.
Cool. All right. You have any other questions for the man?
No, not really.
You put him down, and all of a sudden the interview's over. Well, thanks for stopping by, Dave. Can't thank you enough.
Well, I mean, we can keep going. I mean, I don't want to monopolize your time either, you know, so.
It's a Sunday in Janesville. I've got all the time in the world.
Cool.
You know, I personally would love to do an investigation with you somewhere.
Yeah, I'm certainly up for it. You know, and I do investigations, and, you know, I have a website, darknessevents.com.
Okay.
Darknessevents.com. People can go and see it. Chris Fleming and I, it's not up right now, but it should be by the end of this week. We're going to be hosting an event at Joliet State Prison in July. I've got events at the Palmer House Hotel in Minnesota that we've done events at, and we're doing kind of an interesting vibe. I've got Sarah Lemos from Ghost of Morgan City and Portals to Hell. She's going to be there doing a 2-hour presentation on how to develop your psychic and natural abilities to communicate with spirits so that we can utilize that later in the ghost hunt. Bill Chappell, who's created a lot of the equipment that you're familiar with on paranormal TV shows, has created a new piece of equipment that he's going to debut at our event, and everybody who signs up for the event gets to take it home. And it is another way to help you start to tap into your innate abilities and work through telepathy. And then Shane Pittman from the Holzer Files and myself, we're going to do a 2-hour presentation on ghost hunting. And then that night, we have a 3 to 4 hour ghost hunt. And we're going to be trying experiments with the different things and talents that we've learned through the day. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We have 2 one-day events at the Palmer House coming up in June, so that's available if people are interested. And then you can just see all the other great locations I'm going to be at throughout the United States and around the world. We have a trip coming up to Ireland that we're going to be going out with about 30 of our friends and listeners. We have about 4 spots open for that. We've got 2023, we're going to Egypt. Cool. We get to investigate 2 of the pyramids, and we get to investigate a couple of really cool places I can't talk about right now that have never had a chance to be investigated that are going to blow people away. So that's coming up in 2023. So it's just great. Keep up with me on darknessevents.com, see what's going on, and that's the best way to do it.
So when you go over to Ireland, what's going to take to bring me back one of them little leprechauns? You can keep the pot of gold, but I want the leprechaun.
Keep the pot. Wow, sounds like a good deal. I'm going to need a Faraday cage to lock him in, right?
Yeah, I can make one of them.
I don't, it's funny, when you're over in Ireland, like, leprechauns aren't a thing. But when you go to the Leprechaun Museum, they're like, oh, yeah, we like to thank Walt Disney for Darby McGill and the Little People, right? And Lucky Charms and all that. We Americans have really kind of popularized the leprechaun.
Because they're magically delicious.
That's right. So they talk about wee people, little people, and things like that, the fae folk and fairies and such. And it's funny, over in Ireland when we went and did our first trip, you know, our host, she was kind of rolling her eyes about the whole concept of ghosts. Like, it's not paranormal to them, it's just kind of their history. Mm-hmm. But we had to stop at a fairy tree so we could all leave a donation to not piss the fairies off when we cross through their area. So what's funny to me is, you know, so we're out paying homage to fairies, but again, in America, we have a different perspective of fairies, right? They're brilliant little sprinkling lights and Tinkerbell, but I always remind people, in Europe, fairies are kind of nasty, right? They can be.
Yeah, they take
and everybody's
it
like,
very
they're not
serious
sweet
there.
like Tinkerbell. I'm like, sweet like Tinkerbell? She tried to kill Wendy. She turned on Peter Pan. She sided with Hook at one point. She was a bitch. So, you know, fairies are not, you know, re-examine who Tinkerbell is, folks. You'll know. But, yeah, it's just cool to hear the different dynamics in all these countries that we go to and what their thoughts are on the supernatural and what elements they bring to it that are different.
Yeah, I recently heard about that and found out about the whole leprechaun thing. You know, like, everyone thinks that this is, you know, the Irish lore and all that stuff, but it really wasn't popularized until Walt Disney, like you said.
Yeah. Darby
There's-
O'Gill and the Little People, I think, was the movie with Sean Connery.
Yeah. There's no lore or anything about leprechauns.
But they talk about
little
the wee people,
but-
and the fairy folk and stuff. And leprechauns, I think, were more like what we consider to be the leprechaun were more of like the little prankster wee people that they dealt with. So
Very much, yeah.
Very cool.
And then the interview came to a screeching halt. Because all you guys can think about is that big chunk of beef laying in front of you. The meat chew stick that you guys have.
It's no way to talk about yourself.
Yeah, well, I know that look. Well, thank you guys for allowing me to come on and share a little bit with you. Again, for your listeners, if they're interested, every Monday and Friday I do a podcast called The Paranormal 60. It's on YouTube, so they can watch the video version of it, or they can subscribe to the audio version wherever they listen to podcasts. The Paranormal 60 with Dave Schrader.
Thank you. Thank you very much for
Have a
coming
great
on.
one.
You
Take
too.
care.
Coming
And
over.
don't edit that out.
I won't.
You do not. Look at me. Don't edit it out.
I'm sorry, I won't.
I am TV's Dave Schrader, damn it. You will listen to me. Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure meeting and talking to you.
If
Thank
he
you.
tries
Thank
editing
you.
it out, I'll break his fingers for you.
Thank
okay?
you. Slowly.
But then you got to hide me in your luggage to take me to Ireland with
All
you.
right. I'm going to need a big trunk, my friend.
Yeah, you are.
It's not like you're a wee person on this one. So
I can shrink up.
Could you? All right. See how bendy you really are.
You'd be
Oh,
surprised.
look, our pizza's here.
You'd be surprised.
All right. Have a good one, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. And we're live.
Hey, my name is Brian J. Cano, best known for Paranormal Caught on Camera and Haunted Collector. You might have also seen me way back in the day on Scared on YouTube, back before that was a thing. And I'm just hanging out here now, talking to the Caps guys. What's going on?
Enjoying the show and meeting a lot of great people down here. How about you?
You know, I love hanging out at events like this because you talk, you're meeting people, I'm lecturing, and my voice starts to get hoarse on Sundays, and I get this deep bass. I get this little rolling gravel, and then the Morgan Freeman comes out, and everything I say sounds like a narration.
So, how did you get in this type of field?
The way I got into the paranormal officially, because I feel like we all are involved in some way, shape, or form. It's just the human condition. Everyone is interested in mysteries. Everyone is looking beyond and searching for answers, even if it's not in a team capacity. But for me, this all started officially in 2002 with a cable access show in New York City called Scared on Staten Island.
Very nice, very nice. Before the show or anything like that, did you have any experiences beforehand that brought you that far? Or?
You know, so many people ask me what brought me to this point, what experience have I had that caused me to become an investigator, and there really wasn't any moment that put me on the path. It was just always an insatiable curiosity when I was a child. And when we are all children, we believe in everything. We have Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, Tooth Fairy, etc., and insert religious figure. And as we get older, one by one, we tend to lose all or most of those figures. And I feel like the paranormal has given me back some of that wonder that was in the world when I was a child. And in searching for these answers, searching for these things, like for me, it started out with ghosts and spirits. But now I've branched out to ufology, cryptozoology, and just other general mysteries. I feel like the world, once again, is a wide open, wonderful, mysterious place.
Yes, I agree with that totally. So you mentioned cryptids. Have you ever seen like a Bigfoot or anything like that?
Bigfoots. His name is Daryl, and he wants you to know that he dislikes the generalization of his character.
All right, then. I'll remember that next time I'm out in the woods. I'll start calling him Daryl. So, back to the paranormal, because that's more my line stream. Where Barn, he's more the cryptids. You ever had any experiences that really scared you right out of your pants?
I've had several experiences that really have scared me. And again, to say that one is scared merely just implies that you're alive and your nervous system and your brain are working properly. To be devoid of fear is just irrational, is illogical. We all get scared, but it's how we react to that fear that defines who we are. And in general, most people have the either or dual reaction to fear, the fight or flight response. You're either going to stand your ground and fight, or you're going to run away. But me, I do neither. I freeze. And when something really scary happens, when something happens to me that I'm just trying to process, I will literally freeze and just go over my options and see what it is that I can do. And I got to tell you, the producers hate that because they want the big reaction. They want the over-the-top, dude, bro. And I just give silence. And they would pull me into OTFs and they said, okay, well, tell me what just happened. Weren't you scared? I said, yeah, I'm scared. But, of course, I would love to think that I'm not going to run away. If anything, if I'm going to run towards. But first, I want I want to evaluate what I'm running towards so that I can be better prepared when I do.
Yeah, I'm more that type that will go towards it. You hear the sound. I want to know what that sound is. I want to know, what we're looking or hearing, what we're seeing. So I totally get that.
That's the mark of a good investigator. And if anything, I can tell you, it's not like I just conquered fear and now I'm like RoboCop. I'm a paranormal cyborg that just marches into danger. I sometimes still, my fear will get the better of me into maybe avoiding certain roads or rooms, and I can justify it to myself at the time. But when I get home, I look back and think, I kind of copped out on that one. So maybe next time I'll recognize and do better.
Well, sometimes you gotta listen to your own intuition, because you never know, might have been something in there that wasn't so healthy for you to be around.
True. It's fair. Also, remember, we as investigators, we're not soldiers. We don't have orders that we must take that hill, get that machine gun nest. It's like, okay, yeah, like you said, if it doesn't feel right, you can go. Little Paul Davis for you. But we can't just blindly follow orders. We have to really look into the why we're doing things. I want people to think more about the why rather than the how. It's not about a new gadget. It's not about a new device, but why are you doing what you're doing? All right, I encounter people all the time out there, and I see them using, say, the newest EMF meter. And I say, well, why are you using this? And they'll quote their favorite TV show. And, that's great, but I know the people on the show know why they're using it. Do you? Don't just imitate. And I feel like, all right, for example, I just brought up EMF. Maybe we're measuring the wrong thing. Because the current theory is that spirits either give off EM or that they disturb the EM field as they pass through a space, and that's what we're measuring. And yet, in all these years, and in the 2 decades I've been a part of this, we haven't locked down any formulas, any theories. I'll ask the question, okay, for all you investigators out there, at what concentration of milligauss per square foot indicates a haunting? And I'll be met with stares. And the brave audience member might try to hazard a guess. And the honest person will say, oh, I don't know. And that's the answer, I don't know. And the problem is we don't know. Because for all this data we're supposedly collecting, for all the teams, the black shirts that are going out there 52 weekends out of the year, what more do we know? We don't. So I say again, why? Why are we using EMF? Maybe there's a different scale. Maybe there's something different we should be looking, or rather, even just doing something different with it. And I'm not content to keep just status quo and doing the same thing because that's what we see on TV. None of the TV shows are documentaries, not even mine. And it's up to each individual to be inspired by the shows, but then take it further. Take it upon themselves to say, I'm going to forge into this unknown territory. And a true scientist is a dreamer. True scientists will try to figure out something that doesn't exist and find a way to get there. I mean, look at what's going on right now. You and I are talking on these devices, which is plugged in via wires to another device, which is going to be streamed out across the world.
Yeah.
That didn't always exist. We didn't find it in a cave. The aliens didn't give it to us.
No.
We figured it out. Man is smart. And I feel if we just focus and start asking the right questions, we will get to those pertinent and relevant answers sooner.
See, I believe that's the key in life right there. You just said it. Ask the right questions. You can ask any question you want. You might not get the answers you need. But if you know the right question and the way to phrase it, you get the answer that you need.
It's the mark of not only a good investigator, but a good interviewer, and just a cognizant human being, a conscious person. We have to be awake. We've got to look around. We've got to know what's happening in our own lives. We can't be on autopilot anymore. And I'm sure you've heard of this great awakening that's coming. Well, I'm ready to wake up.
I personally believe we're already in that realm. You know, as a young child, I was explained that there's a spiritual window that was going to be opening. Now, this was 20, 30 years ago I was told about this. Before these paranormal conventions were mainstream, before the shows were on TV, when we had only like Ripley's and what was it, In the Shadows and stuff like that.
Man, Jack Palance, the believe it or not.
Right.
That no man could breathe on TV like Jack Palance.
Yes, yes.
Or do one-arm push-ups.
Now you got me off track.
You see, that's what happens. That is, again, that's the true nature of being alive. We go on tangents. We see what we find, and then we return back with more than we thought we'd find.
You know, exactly. Always be looking. Always be open.
Always be looking. Always be filming.
Yeah. You know, if you can, go for it. You know, you ask why we do these things. I can tell you why. I know why I do it, but why do you do it? In all reality, I know you said it's something still new, something to look into. But deep down inside, what's your personal driving force?
For me, it's again about being a researcher. It's about locking down that theory because in general, I've found there are three basic categories of paranormal enthusiasts. You have the tourist. That's great. I mean, and it might sound derogatory to some, like, oh, they're just a tourist. But a tourist, tourism is a huge part of our world. It's business. People get introduced to, people make their livings off of tourism, and the average person will go to a place, go on a hunt, just want the scare, and then go home. It's entertainment for them, and that's fine. That's great. Then you have the investigator, and that classifies the teams you have, the black shirts, the individuals who spend a good number of their 52 weekends out of the year going to cons, going on investigations, joining up. And believe it or not, it's not so much a search of the dead. It's a very social thing. It's about the living. It's about the connections that they're making. And the greatest amount of people in the paranormal are in that investigator class. It doesn't necessarily define them, although it can, but they put a great deal of time and effort into it. Now, on top of that, the smallest category is the researcher. Those are those investigators who wish to make change, who wish to leave their mark with something that lasts. I'm talking about your J.B. and Louisa Rhines. I'm talking about your Ed and Lorraine Warrens. I'm talking about your Hans Holzers. And these are people who either through their own investigations, their own research said, look, I'm going to look into this and I'm going to try to categorize, classify, and quantify everything that we don't understand so we can get closer. And Louisa Rhyme was quite famous for dividing things into categories. And let's shine the light on it. All right, this was a woman in the 1930s who was doing. She didn't ask, she didn't wait. Her and her husband, they were botanists. And they said, you know what? Yeah, we mastered this. We're going to move on to something. It's called psychical research. What's that? Well, here, let's tell you about it. It doesn't even have a proper name yet. Along comes Max Dessoir, a philosopher. He says, oh, we're going to call it parapsychology. Oh, that's great. What's that? Well, let's find out. And they move the bar forward. They didn't watch a TV show, put on a black T-shirt, say, hey, let's do this. It's science. No, it's not. It's monkey see, monkey do. These people were in the trenches doing. And believe me, as much as I give a ribbing to my black-shirted friends out there, there's a lot of people out there who are really trying, doing good work, getting the data, getting the information. But what we need to do now, at least for the researchers, is to try to parse that data, to try to figure out what it all means. Because, again, in the past 2 decades of me doing this, we have no new information. We've got a lot of ideas, just nothing to back it up solidly.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I understand that totally. You know, hopefully those that are inspired this next generation, maybe they can take it further. Maybe they're the key for us to finally get that hard evidence to raise the bar. Because, like you said, a lot of the black shirts, monkey see, monkey do, that's human nature.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing. You see it everywhere in our world. You see it in society. Red, blue. What's your sports team? What's yours? What's your political affiliation? Your nationality? Everyone subdivides themselves into classifications and territories and just division And here this weekend at the Metaphysical Convention, I've been talking about the concept of and. A-N-D. 3 letters, very simple, but a very big topic because you don't have to choose either or. You can have and. You can have it all. And this really came into focus for me recently because I've been hearing, for a lot of years in my tenure here that, oh, Brian, we like you because you think outside of the box. And lately that's been riling me because I think, oh, well, I'd like to think that there is no box. And while I'm thinking outside of said box, I still want the pieces in the box. If this is a Lego set for me to build what's on the cover, I need all the pieces in and out of the box. So, again, let's not use the box as a means to divide. Let's say and. It's like I have this and I have that. So here at the Metaphysical Convention, yeah, I'm a paranormal guy. I'm a scientist, but I also embrace the metaphysical, the intangible aspects, the anecdotes, the things that are spiritual that maybe I can't quite measure in the same way that I would maybe an EMF spike, but I have to embrace both those sides because they really are elements of the same thing.
Totally cool. I get it there.
You hear me? I'm getting riled up. I'm getting
into it.
I'm getting emotional about it.
And like us with our group, we do it all. We're one of very few groups. Yeah, we are cryptids. We are paranormal. We look for the anomalies. You got to think outside the box, like you were saying. Destroy the box.
Exactly.
Be open to everything.
There is no box. That's the thing. If you envision a box, you put yourself in the box, you're limiting yourself. You can't see outside the box. If you're outside the box, you can't see inside the box. It's Schrodinger's cat all over again because you don't know what the state of the cat is in that box. He's both simultaneously dead and alive, and we can't gain truth that way. We can't gain knowledge that way. So eliminate the box.
Yes, definitely. Always be open-minded. I was raised that from a little child on. Be open-minded, look at everything, make your own decisions, draw your own conclusions.
It's like Caddyshack. Make it happen. Be the ball. Be the ball. Make the ball.
You in the 80s, buddy.
Oh, I love it. I'm still there.
Yeah?
It was back when things made sense.
So much a simpler time.
Although, I was a kid back then. Looking back at it now with an adult's eyes, I feel like, oh no, it's exactly the same. Same words, same problems, same struggles. Just different dressing.
Yeah. And everything's a hell of a lot more expensive, right?
Oh, that too.
Oh, this has been great. I've enjoyed this time.
Cool, man. Cool.
Hopefully in the future we can get together again and do some more. I don't want to hold you up too much. But if people are looking to find you or get a hold of you, how would they do that?
I'm most easily found on my website. That's neverstopsearching.com. I also have a Patreon page where you can engage in my community and even sign up to become an apprentice of mine. There's very limited spots, but I can teach you in any course that I'm able to that you wish to learn in the paranormal, be it parapsychology, a survey on extraterrestrials, something that I like to call paralosophy, and so many other things. And that would be patreon.com/Brian J. Cano.
Very awesome. Well, thank you again, and I appreciate your time. And we'll have to be looking a little more into that Patreon. I'm new to that. I've never heard of it before.
Sounds good, buddy.
All right. Thank you, sir. And that'd be it for today.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Whispers from the Dark. To find out more about cryptids, anomalies, and the Paranormal Society, visit us at our website at wisconsincaps.com. That's wisconsincaps.com. There you can find links to all of our social media: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and our Patreon. You will see links to our online store as well, where you can get t-shirts, DVDs, and more. If you click on the public events page, you can find out where you can meet us in person and all the public events we have coming up. If you enjoy our podcast or our YouTube shows, please consider becoming a Patreon at patreon.com/WisconsinCaps. There you can find behind-the-scenes pictures and videos from all of our media, as well as bonus footage and evidence that we have collected. If you have encountered something you can't explain, we want to hear from you. Visit our website and click on Submit a Report on our main screen. You can choose to leave your contact information or simply remain anonymous. You can also reach us via email at wisconsincaps@gmail.com. If you would like to be a guest on our show, please contact us on our Whispers from the Dark podcast page on Facebook, or send us an email at wisconsincaps.com. Remember to like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen or watch or find us.